Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and welcome to my Friday reads. My Booktuber shout out this week also comes with an apology. Today I want to shout out the lovely Liz from Now Voyaging. Liz has been a commenter on my videos for a long time. I really enjoy chatting to her. She also has a blog and she has recently started up a Booktube channel, which is brilliant. Liz organised recently an activity, a challenge called #BeyondTheCover. I was really excited to sign up and get involved. Basically what you had to do was you signed up on her blog and you picked a book that had a TV or film adaptation. You read the book, you watched the film or TV adaptation, and then you discussed in a video. And I had picked American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I hated this book. I read 50 pages and I had to DNF. Now that doesn't mean that I wasn't going to make my video, because I thought, well, that'll make interesting conversation. I'll watch the film, brave it, because I'm not good with those types of films, but I'll watch the film and then I can talk about why I DNF'd and talk about the film. However, iTunes would not let me download the film. And so I tried for about 5 days to download the film and it wouldn't let me and I couldn't watch it and it got really frustrating, and I have to admit in the end I just gave up. I was so angry. And so this is a big apology to Liz because I didn't get to do my video for Beyond the Cover and I really wanted to. So I'm sorry Liz, and I will try my best next time you do this to get myself sorted beforehand so I'm not caught out by rubbishy iTunes. And so yeah, anyway, that is beside the point in terms of Liz's channel. Her channel is amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it progresses and grows. Her blog is well worth checking out, and yeah, I'll leave all her details down below. So that is my shout out for the week. So that is my Booktuber shout out. Let's talk about the books that I read this week, and there were quite a lot, mainly pushed from Buddy Reads, and also the fact that there was 2 readathons taking place, and so that really pushed me to read more. The first book was a Buddy Read before the readathon started, and that was Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. I'd heard really good things about this. It's a YA fantasy book and I was excited to jump in, and I wasn't disappointed. This was a really original story. I felt like the world in here was very new and different. I liked the magical elements to it, and I enjoyed the fact that it's YA, there's going to be a romance generally, and it was a slow burning romance. There was no insta love in this, and I really appreciated that. This story is about a girl called Amani. She is living with her uncle in a really small desert town. She's in a bad situation. They're going to try and marry her off, and she just wants to get out of town and get away from there and go somewhere like the big city that she's heard about. And this is sort of how the story starts. She has taught herself how to shoot guns, and there is sort of an underground warehouse where there is a shooting competition going on, but obviously it's only for men, so she dresses herself as a boy and enters the competition in order to try and win the prize pot of money to help her escape. At this shooting competition, she meets a strange foreigner who's also entered into the competition, and we really get going from there. It's fast, it's action-packed, but there's also a lot of world building going on in this. We are being introduced to characters. It's very obvious that this is going to be a series. We realise from the get-go there's a lot of build-up going on, but I didn't find that build-up slow or took me out the story. I really enjoyed finding out about the characters and discovering the world as we went along, which sometimes for me can make things a bit confusing, but in this instance it wasn't at all. It was really nicely done. And I think one of my favourite things about this book is that we start off, we have a really strong female protagonist. She's not necessarily strong like, you know, uber strong, but she's strong in her mind. She knows what she wants and she's going to go for it. And even though she starts on this sort of romantic path at times, both her and her romantic interest don't expect her to be any less strong and, you know, fight for what she believes in. In fact, her romantic interest wants her to be the same person wants her to be strong and strong-willed and know what she wants, and she sticks to her guns as well. And I really liked that. I really liked that she wasn't being tried to sort of forced to conform. She wasn't being pushed into that sort of female box of, oh, now you're in love, you can be a simpering idiot. And I really, really liked this book, and I can't wait to read more in the series, and I gave this one 4 stars. Next was the TBR Takedown, and that was over a long weekend. It was hosted by Shannon from Leaning Light. This is quite a way in now. I think we're 3.5. Normally they're a week long, but we decided, or she decided I should say, because I didn't decide anything, she decided to do a long weekend, sort of a Friday to Monday or Friday to Sunday, I think it was, TBR Takedown, and there was a few challenges. And so I picked up first a couple of graphic novels that I've been wanting to read. Firstly, I picked up Wolf, Blood and Magic Volume 1. I was drawn to this because I really liked the look of the artwork. It's done in sort of different colour palettes, and the back synopsis really drew me in. It's a story of a paranormal investigator, sort of detective, who is trying to solve some problems and get his brother out of jail, and I was so disappointed with this one. It was just confusing. I think half the time I couldn't even work out what was going on. At points in the story, I think it was when someone particular was speaking, the text changed and all of the R's were turned to F's, and it made it really difficult to try and read it. Maybe that was the point, or perhaps it was to sort of try and give you a type of accent with this particular supernatural character. I don't know, but I just found it confusing, and I just really didn't enjoy it, and I only gave this one 2 stars. Next up, I picked up Lazarus Volume 4 by Rucker, Lark and Arcus. I really love this book, these stories. It's a really good story. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before, so I'm not going to get into detail now, but it's a really great action-packed story about a Lazarus who is like the assassin for a particular family that looks after the world. They're looking after the world, and this continued. It was really good. It wasn't the strongest volume, I don't think. It took a bit of a while to get going, but I really enjoyed it, and I think before the next one comes out, I'm going to read 1 to 4 all the way through, back to back, to really get myself back into the story before I start fighting. And I gave this one 4 stars. Next up, I buddy read Princess Barry by Hwang Sok Yong with Tanya from List Obsessed Reader. We were really excited about this. The story synopsis gave us the idea of a young girl. She's born, she can talk to animals, there's magical realism, it's set in Korea. And unfortunately for me, this one just fell a bit short. It was an okay story. It reminded me of a fictionalised version with a few magical elements of Yeonmi Park's In Order to Live, which was a really hard-hitting non-fiction autobiography by Yeonmi Park about her defecting from North Korea. In this book, we're following a young girl. She's born in North Korea. We learn all of the problems that she faces growing up in North Korea and her escape from North Korea, and she has a ability where she can communicate with animals. And I think the problem I had with this was it just didn't hit me emotionally. I didn't feel the emotional impact from this, and I'm not sure, if I was talking to Tanya, if it was because I would have preferred it either to be a fictional story, or they needed to amp up the magical realism elements of this, the magical side of it, because it was all a bit sort of, and there wasn't enough of the magical bit to make it feel really truly magical, and there wasn't enough of the sort of fictional side to give us a hard-hitting emotional look at things, and it just sort of fell in the middle for me, and it was okay, but it wasn't a great read, and so I gave this one 3 stars. The next book I finished, which I had been reading over a number of weeks, is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. I was reading this along with my great buddy reading friend Jackie Kate, and we read The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas last year together, and really enjoyed the buddy read and the story, and couldn't wait to get into this one. I'd heard great things. Everyone says how funny and great this is, and unfortunately both me and Jackie were a bit disappointed. I think one of the main things I didn't like about this was that all the women were sort of portrayed as these sly and conniving creatures, and all the men were created into sort of simpering idiots who do anything for love, who fell in love with a different woman every day, and were just sort of a bit tongue-in-cheek slapstick, really. And I just didn't like that, and I couldn't connect with anyone. I couldn't root for anyone. I hated our main character D'Artagnan. I just felt he was fickle in his love interests. He was not very nice. He was selfish and egotistical, and I was so disappointed. I think one of the main things is I have seen a lot of the TV series of this growing up. It was something that I watched with my dad and really enjoyed, and what I really didn't like about this is that the Three Musketeers, or the Three Musketeers and D'Artagnan, I always felt were really noble, and, you know, they're fighting for the better good. And in this, they just didn't come across as noble. They just came across as selfish and childish, and that really disappointed me. It was okay, and there was exciting bits in there, and it was easy enough to read, and it redeemed itself a little bit towards the end. The last couple of 100 pages were quite action-packed and a bit more interesting. But for me, this was a bit of a disappointment, and it's such a shame because I love the County Monte Cristo, but I only gave this one 3 stars. Next up are some Genrethon books. The first is a short story collection, which is The Rental Heart by Kirsty Logan. I wanted to read a short story collection. I'd read Kirsty Logan's Gracekeeper novel and really loved it. I read her Portable Shelter and really didn't love it, and so I was hoping that this would be the one. This would be a really, really good short story collection. It's 20 short stories, and there were 2 that I really liked and that I gave 4 stars, and those 2 were Coin Operated Boys and Una and Cole Are Not Friends. I really enjoyed those 2 stories and would have given them 4 stars. I just thought they were great. I think the problem with a lot of Kirsty Logan's short stories for me is that they don't end. I don't feel like they end. And I know with short stories it's difficult, and you're meant to think, and it's meant to sort of make you think about things, but I don't like it when they don't wrap up a little bit. But those 2 I really enjoyed, and I liked the endings of. And I quite liked this short story collection. I certainly liked it more than Portable Shelter. I like her writing. She creates atmosphere. These are sort of fairy tale-esque stories, and I liked that. Coin Operated Boys is about sort of, you can rent out these robot-y perfect boys that you put coins in them and keeps them going. And Una and Cole are 2 sort of teenagers, I think. One of them has antlers and the other a tail, and that was quite interesting. And yeah, but it just fell a bit short in general. It wasn't, the other stories in there didn't really grab me, so I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay, but not great. And then the final book that I have completed so far this week, but there is still a few days of Genrethon left, is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This is a YA contemporary story I've been meaning to read for a long time. This wasn't on my Genrethon TBR, this was on my TBR Takedown, but I sort of mixed them up a bit in the end because I was running behind and I had things on, but it still fits for a different genre. And it's a story about a girl called Emily. She is the start of the summer holidays, and her best friend Sloane has disappeared, not in a creepy way we don't think, but she's just disappeared with her parents. She doesn't know where she's gone, and Sloane sends her a list of things that she needs to do over the summer. It's something that Sloane's always done, sort of made these lists of challenges for her. She's left her with this list of things, including things like skinny dipping and various different things, and it's about her learning to be her own person without her friends, and to form new friendships, and to put herself outside of her comfort zone and push herself to enjoy things and try new things. And it was a really, really nice story. There's a romance in here, but it's not insta-love again, which is what I'm really appreciating in these stories at the moment. And it was a really lovely read. I really enjoyed this, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend it as a really strong contemporary read. So that's all the books I finished so far for the Genrethon. I'm going to give you a very quick look at the ones that I'm partway through. I'm a little way into The Skeleton Crew by Deborah Heller, which is my non-fiction. However, I'm not really enjoying this one, so it's not pulling me to pick it up. I am currently reading volumes 1 and 2 of Low, which is a graphic novel, which I will talk about next week. I'm nearly finished Emma by Jane Austen. I'm buddy reading this with a lot of lovely ladies. It looks like I'm not as far in because there's loads of notes at the back, but I'm probably a couple of 100 pages from the end of this. Today I'm going to be starting Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which is a YA fantasy type book, which I'm reading because it is nominated for the SFF Awards and I need to get on finishing the books that are nominated for that. And then another YA contemporary, if I get a chance, is Girl Online on Tour by Zoe Sugg, which is the second in this series, and I really wanted to read. I really enjoyed the first one. It was very light, fluffy and easy, and sometimes that's just what you fancy, so I'm going to try and get to that one. So all of those books hopefully will be finished by the end of the Genrethon, but who knows. And I'm sorry this has been such a long video, but I read a lot this week. And I wanted to make a proper apology to Liz for not doing Beyond the Cover, because I feel really ashamed that I didn't manage to do it. And I think her channel's great anyway, and I'm really pleased that I could shout her out this week. And I hope you'll go over and check her out and subscribe if you like what you see, and show her some Booktube love. Anyway, that's it from me. I will see you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.